Hi there everyone, and welcome back to this channel. My name is Tamara and I'm a psychologist from South Africa. Today's video is more relationally based, where we will be looking at signs that you are being manipulated. Manipulation in this context is not just here and there, but more consistent frame of being in a manipulative relationship. So it's anywhere where you're feeling you can't quite put your finger on why you find yourself so confused as to where you stand in the relationship, what the other person may want, and possibly if your needs are not being met in this dynamic. So before we look at some of these signs, we're going to be looking at what our understanding of manipulation is. So manipulation is more a control measure to influence and coerce people or yourself in the relationship towards a specific outcome for the manipulator. So that means that manipulation serves one individual. It's not for the relationship. So it's not for the greater good. It's actually a very self-serving construct. So it's important to understand that. So manipulation only serves the manipulator towards whatever goal or outcome. This communication is often indirect. It's not direct. That's why it wouldn't be manipulative. So one of the first signs that we can look at is if you often find yourself in a dynamic where this person cannot state clearly, objectively, in a descriptive way what they want or need, or bring to you a communication pattern where you could collaborate together towards a shared outcome to understand what you both need in the relationship. This indirect type of relationship pattern and communication style will often leave you trying to guess between the lines or read between the lines to try and understand what they're trying to say. So it's quite suggestible. So when we're suggesting things, it could be left up to interpretation, but it is quite obvious, especially if this person knows about your vulnerabilities. So we all as human beings have a whole bunch of vulnerabilities, our emotions, our constructs of how we want to live our lives, how we want peace and harmony and moving away from conflict. As soon as this person picks up those little tells from you, they're going to play on those manipulations and hook you in. Some of these feelings or vulnerabilities, we all have them, is a feeling of guilt. Guilt is a massive feeling that people that are quite manipulative will play on. So do you feel sometimes not good enough, you didn't do enough for somebody, and then it's being played on? Feelings of shame, feelings of people pleasing, so pleasing other people towards the greater good, avoiding conflict, trying to feel good enough. All of those types of things are ways in which the manipulator will try and pull you in so that you can avoid feeling all those terrible feelings. These are often ancient thought processes that we have within ourselves, that we carry, and can make us fall victim or prey to those that will look at those ancient scripts and play on them. So other ways that could be looked at or manipulated upon with these manipulative folk is they may state or make statements around these ancient types of narratives that you're holding about yourself. So for example, they could say in a roundabout way that they feel that you're not doing enough for them, or that you spend too much time at the office, or that you're not paying attention enough for them, or that they seem to come second in your life. There's many ways that manipulation can play in just stating the obvious. Is many times in our relationships we could just directly ask for what we're needing. You can state your feelings, of course, but in asking for what you want and asking to collaborate with your partner or your friend, whoever it is, to work collaboratively, all of that is sometimes missed in manipulative strategies. So often the person that plays into the manipulation doesn't want to feel that they're a bad person, that they're not good enough, that they're conflictual, that they often are not helping the other person, so they submit to whatever the manipulation is at the time. Why this can be quite complicated is that the fear of that feeling that's being evoked within you is so much bigger and broader than the actual feeling that the other person's trying to elicit within you. So that whatever the gain, the goal, the hidden goal that they're trying to get to. So you're often playing catch up all the time. There's another aspect of this manipulation with indirect language in pulling out your vulnerabilities, is they may play into your positive attributes. So showering you with praise and compliments. Now, here's the bad thing, the bad aspect, is if you have both. So if they indirectly sending communication that you're not good enough, or you should feel indebted to them or guilty, and then they, at another stage, will compliment you or praise you, which highlights your reward centers in your brain, then you've got a roller coaster of reward-seeking behavior to try and get you to stay hooked in this dynamic. It's so important that you analyze these ancient narratives that you hold within you, because otherwise you'll always feel submissive towards that. So when you submit over and over and over to avoiding that feeling, then of course you're going to fall prey towards that. Another sign that you're being manipulated is often you may sit with a feeling of confusion and ambivalence towards the communication that is trying to be emitted towards you. So when you have a feeling of confusion, is there may be inconsistencies in communication because it's not direct, as well as the ambivalence. So when we have ambivalence within us, we all have it, is we could have two opposing identities within us. For example, being a mother, if you're a woman, and a partner, if you're married or not married, and someone that works, is if this person wants something from you that opposes all three or two of those ego states, it's going to channel within you a cognitive dissonance or that ambivalent state. So say, for example, they want you in some way, this person wants more time from you or more responsibility. It will evoke within you that feeling of confusion, ambivalence within yourself, of you almost feel like you have to choose a lot of the times. Is, can I not be an employee and a partner? Can I not also be a friend? All of those types of things, which can create confusion within our internal sense of ambivalence. It will also trigger within you a sense of duty if you have that vulnerability within you, where you want to be dutiful and loyal. And if they pick that up in you, they could trigger that within you. And so you're always on this hamster wheel to try and be dutiful and loyal, but at what cost? A cognitive dissonance also in that confusion can be because they are confusing. Is their communication style is not direct, and it sometimes is inconsistent, especially if they, and it's very common, is they may say something and do something else, or there may be a double standard. So they may want something from you and suggest it, but they themselves don't model that. So you often get very, very confused. The other aspect of this is there's very poor self-reflection. So very poor self-awareness in relationship with you or other people. So often there's either not great social skills or they're not as developed to be able to empathically look at their role in the dynamic, the impact of their behavior, and looking at what the other person's needs are. So two of the greatest skills that are missing here is empathy. So empathy is the attunement towards the other person's inner world and the effect of our behavior on other people. That is largely underdeveloped or not developed enough if you're highly manipulative. As well as looking at, not looking at self-reflection. So when you give this person any type of feedback as to what you want, what you need, or feedback on their behavior, it tends to not be taken well. And often if you are a people pleaser, which is that ancient kind of narration we were speaking about that we need to work on, is it's going to trigger within you that sense of, I am not pleasing or keeping the peace within this person. There's something going on within them that I perhaps need to work on. Is the self-blame will set in. This is another sign. So self-blame and self-criticism is often going to be played out on the other side of these dynamics, because the other person struggles to take self-accountability, self-reflection, and all of those tools. So they will put it on you. If you are highly empathic, or you highly people-pleasing, or you want peace and you want to avoid conflict, you may find yourself on the other side of highly manipulative relationships all around. Often you see this is if you have one person, one relationship where there's a lot of manipulation and the person doesn't know how to get out of it or speak up more, be direct and less agreeable, is you'll find all around them there may be manipulation because they don't know how yet to take responsibility only for their role in the dynamic. Not being particularly good at self-reflecting is something that came before you. Often in manipulative relationships, the person that's trying to clearly communicate self-needs and self-wants will try to do so, and then they may back off when they see that the person doesn't take it well, or they're quite emotional, or they're quite upset about it, and so self-doubt and self-blame tends to sit in or seep in. And this can be quite confusing because, in healthy relationships, we should be able to clearly communicate our wants and needs and compromise and collaborate with other people towards shared goals and shared outcomes. Now, when the other person doesn't hear us, or when we constantly feel we're working towards almost a hidden agenda or towards a self-directed understanding of what they want, then we will feel at many times quite at a submissive state where we don't have as much power, personal agency to be able to speak up or comment on behavior or clarify. Clarifying is so huge with the manipulation, to try and understand, why is it that I understood what you're saying here and you're saying something else here? And if it's not met with curiosity, with understanding, with self-reflection, then there's a very high chance that you could be stuck in a highly manipulative relationship. So tune in on Friday and we're going to be giving some tips on looking at how you can manage these relationships. What can you do about it? So the first thing to just look at is the tips on how you can identify this. If all of these things do resonate and you need a little bit more, pay attention to your nervous system, your gut instinct when you're around these people. Do you feel constantly a little bit on edge in terms of those feelings that we mentioned right in the beginning? So right in the beginning, when it was mentioned around guilt, feelings of dutifulness, people pleasing, shame, sense of responsibility, all of those feelings, there's so many of those core vulnerabilities we share as human beings. If those are being evoked consistently with that person, and you feel nervous around them, or you feel bad and things like that consistently, that's going to be a huge telltale sign. Relationships are not meant to be like that. They're meant to be, yes, at times they're challenging, they are a lot of work, but it should be mutual. There should be a two-way dynamic. There shouldn't be so much of you doing so much to get something or get through to the other person or towards the relationship. So you shouldn't be feeling as bad as if that's being evoked consistently. So more often than not, that is a very good compass to be able to gauge if you're in a highly manipulative relationship. See you guys all on Friday, and we will work on some of those tips to manage the manipulation and what to do. All the best.